The PM will today challenge state premiers to stop squabbling and strike a deal over the border chaos, which is causing damage to farmers, communities and hospital patients struggling to get essential treatment. Joining us now to discuss the week in politics is Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton and Deputy Leader of the Opposition Richard Marles. Good morning, chaps. Nice of you to be with us this morning.
Thanks, Karl.
Peter, the PM famously said we should pull the doona back by July, but look, Anna just loves it under that doona. It's warm and safe and very, very popular.
And, you know, the weather's pretty good up here at the moment too, Karl, so there's no sense in going into hibernation. So when you hear some of the stories about families that are separated from, you know, sick kids or can't get medication, can't get to work, their business is on one side of the border, they live on the other, these are the practical implications of this closed Queensland border scenario, and it's driven by politics at the moment, which I just think is frustrating a lot of Queenslanders. We've got borders closed with the ACT as well. There are no cases in the ACT, and it's not based on medical advice, and I think that's the Prime Minister's point as well.
But seriously, you can't do anything about it, can you? I mean, why would she do something that Queenslanders don't want? The majority of them don't want the borders open.
Well, there's an election in Queensland in October, and I just think Premier Palaszczuk's really concerned about that. And as pointed out in today's Courier Mail by one of the Labor strategists, they just don't have a plan. It's all driven by their polling and by their research, and not in our best interest. And that I think is regrettable, because we want to make sure that we can deal with the threat. But there's no threat in northern New South Wales, and yet on a border town like that between Coolangatta and the Tweed, there's just massive disruption. And as you point out, people trying to get medical attention, they see a specialist on the Tweed or in Coolangatta, vice versa, whatever it might be. These lives are really being disrupted, and you've got to ask why when the medical advice is not saying that that's what's needed.
Pete, the more you push her, the more she digs in and the more popular she becomes.
Well, Karl, remember back before July when they'd made the announcement the borders would open in July, and she just plucked this figure of September out, that they'd open or that they'd close the borders until September. That wasn't based on medical advice. She's never produced the medical advice. So
pretty good decision, though.
I think, well, no, I don't think it was, actually. And in the end, she reneged because they did bring it back to July. So
okay.
It's just got to be based on the medical advice, and then everybody's happy. But that's not what's happening at the moment.
OK, Richard, Qantas boss Alan Joyce declared border closures are being driven by politics and not medical science. Anastasia says she's keeping her people safe from COVID. What's more important?
There are single-digit active cases in Queensland right now. I mean, seriously, if any of us were sitting in Anastasia Palaszczuk's chair right now, would we be doing anything different? I mean, right now there are 3 times as many active cases in Ballarat as there are in the entire state of Queensland. So I think you can understand why Anastasia's doing what she's doing. And you know, you apologised to her a few weeks ago, Karl. I know that deep down Peter wants to do it right now. But I think if any of us were Anastasia Palaszczuk, we would be doing exactly what she's doing right now, and you can completely understand it. And it's not just a matter of the Prime Minister going and wagging his finger at the state premiers and calling them into line. I mean, it's his role to actually work cooperatively with the state premiers,
but Richard,
and to try and come up with some national principles here, Richard, but do so in a way which is building consensus.
This is all well and good, but it's terrible for business. I mean, even with Victoria, do you think the borders will be open by Christmas?
I don't know, and obviously this is not good for business, but what we need to do for business and for the economy in general is to get past this. And I think everyone in Victoria right now is completely focused on, adhering to the rules and trying to get the numbers down. And I'm touching wood as I say this, but the numbers seem to be going in the right direction, and that's a good thing. But I think we can all understand why there is a border around Victoria at the moment. And we get that, you know, the rule of common sense needs to apply in terms of specifics close to the border. And I saw one of your segments during the week in relation to a farmer in Warwick-Nabil. Those sort of things need to be worked through. But I think we can understand why there is a border in place. And I hope it is lifted as soon as possible. But having said that, we get that the precondition in respect of that is to see the case numbers go low.
Peter, when you look at what's happened with aged care in Victoria, are you sorry for all of that, for all the hurt and the pain that has been caused by what is ostensibly a federal government responsibility?
Well, yes, of course, and nobody wants to see any of that happen again. I mean, people want to learn the lessons. Similarly, in Victoria with the hotel quarantine situation, I mean, nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to blame or point fingers. We just want an arrangement where people can get back to lives as we know it. And if we've got premiers who are pursuing an elimination process, the country will go broke. And people who are at home on JobKeeper or JobSeeker at the moment, who might be feeling relatively comfortable, if they're lucky enough not to have lost their job so far, the businesses won't be there when those people go back. And so we've got to get people able to travel again to tourist destinations domestically. I was talking to Brisbane Airport Corporation yesterday. They are down 98% in terms of their international travellers. They're running at 20% of domestic flights, and it is crippling, and thousands of jobs will go as a result of it. So we've got to get some activity up and going, and single digits as they operate in New South Wales at the moment is realistic of what we'll expect into the future.
It was bleak, wasn't it? Yesterday, Alan Joyce, it was a bleak press conference. Finally, gents, on a much lighter note, we've been sharing our formal photos as thousands of students in New South Wales and Victoria miss out on the occasion. Now, I believe we have some photos of you both. Let's go to Peter first of all. Wow. What a rooster. Cock-a-doodle-doo. Hey? So look at the flat top. Oh.
So, Carlos, the lesson here is tell your kids if you're thinking about politics, forget it. Look at Richard.
Oh.
That is one hairdo.
Apparently he couldn't get a date for the formal. It's unbelievable.
Mate, can we get back to some hard-hitting questions on politics?
Oh, come on. You sent that photo in. You love that stuff. You love looking at yourself when you're younger.
I'm so glad I'm not 16 anymore.
Good on you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, right.